So this is the Say Cheese collection, and again, this is not my collection, so I'm not totally savvy with the verbiage, but I'll just read the packaging. But Classic Mouse is really the collection, and Say Cheese, I think, is this assortment, because if I'm not mistaken, Simple Stories has already done maybe a different version, different release. I'm not sure. Anyway, I'll break it down into like what is Simple Stories and what is the Spellbinder stuff, and then we're going to focus on the play and the dies. But there is a lot of paper craft stuff in this collection, and again, thank you, Denzel, for sending me an assortment of all of this stuff. So 12 by 12 scrapbook paper. There's also, take a look at this little cute pad. I like this little 6 by 8 paper pad. There's all these different designs, again, pattern paper if you're a card maker or a scrapbooker. There's rubs, so colorful rub-ons. There's some chipboard stuff. Look at these. That's some fancy, fun chipboard. A lot of die cuts. I thought this was cute, this little sticker book. It's this art of Classic Mouse, and if you guys are confused about this, about public domain and all that, just do some Google. This is all from Steamboat Willie. Became public domain, and a lot of people are really utilizing that and putting a spin on it, and I couldn't be happier as a maker and a fan of the mouse. But yeah, look at these. Those are cool. I love those little metal edged decorative brads, enamel dots, hilariously fun stamp set. Hey Denzel, how are you? Thanks for sending me this stuff. Little clear stamp. So a lot of fun stuff from the Simple Stories collection, but Simple Stories licensed with Spellbinders to do dies, and that's really, I mean, you guys know me. That's where my heart is, where you could actually customize stuff. That's totally my jam. So I'm going to focus on that. I'm going to move this stuff out of the way real quick. I do love all that paper stuff though. So we're going to talk about the dies. Of course, the star, which would be the cutting dies of, and this is what I'm going to really focus on in demo, because even though I got these, I have no problem like assembling dies, but I found that this one was a little trickier than what I was used to, because there's a lot of pieces. But don't be freaked out about this, because what's nice about this is really you have a lot of options for gestures and expressions as far as the hands and arms and orientation of the design. So that's really fun. So the Classic Mouse, yes, you can do either version. A great alpha, very, oh, thanks, you got me set. Thanks, Mario. Classic font style for that, and I love that there's the alphabet and the numbers, and these are chunky. You'll see, I did some fun stuff with that. I really enjoyed it. Absolutely love this one. This one definitely reminds me of the park. I love the Best Day Ever with these pennant flags, and this all cuts out. I'll show you some of the stuff that I've done. Some little pinwheels, and obviously the alpha fits in the pinwheel, so if you wanted to do some sort of banner. The nice thing about this collection really is, even if you're not a fan of the mouse, and if you're not, you don't need to tell me that, because, we still want to be friends. I'm kidding. I do. I love the mouse. Oh but Mario's just like, uh-oh. But even something like this is just great for the everyday, for the party, because, Best Day Ever just goes for a lot of different things. This very, very clever set. It's some circles, so you'll see there's a couple of different circles that you can cut these out, and cut them out as either backdrop circles or these little rings. And I love that you can drop in some different words and sayings, swell, golly, oh boy, I can't really do the mouse voice. And yeah, and well, hello there. I just think that's fun. And then stars and hearts. And then of course in the true Steamboat Willie vibe, just a little bit of nautical stuff. I didn't use any of this stuff because for me, just the mouse is the mouse, but they're great. Some great border dies as well. Okay. I've kind of gone through that. I'm going to keep this one. I'll keep some of these off to the side just in case there's any questions on the dies later. Cause I've already, like I said, opened my dies up, put them on sheets, all of that stuff, because I like to use them. I just store them on magnetic vent covers, but that's how I use them, because I want to do the pieces. Now, what I did do when I first set up the dies of the mouse, they're looking opposite directions, but they're really designed more for like Mickey and Minnie, really. And so I think it's just important for me as a true mouse maker that I wanted the orientation pieces kind of separate. So I knew if I was doing a head, the head would go the same direction of the body, and vice versa. So that's just how I put them on my strips. What's cool about the arms and the hands, because as I mentioned, there's like 3 different gestures, but there again, there's 2 dies for each one, depending on how you want, you know, the thumb or the hand to be. And so I thought that was really cool. I mean, as someone that designs dies as well, I felt that the design aspect of this was really brilliant. It gave me so many creative options, and I never found myself going, I wish they would have. And I just think that's a win. I mean, even down to the tail, you know, you have one that's just short and straight and one that has a little hook, and that could work either way. So you'll see that. So that's just what I did on these. You know, the other ones, I'll talk about, you know, like the banners and the pennants. What's really cool also about like that best day ever with that cool wavy flag, you get the dies that just have the pole, and then the flags themselves, these words just drop in. So if you essentially wanted to do just kind of these banners, but maybe you were going to write something in or you wanted to do something else, I think that's pretty cool that, you know, you don't have to actually die cut that word, the words best day ever. You can just have these great flags. So I thought that, again, that was really cool. And there's even little drop shadow pieces and little ties for the pennant. So I like that. I like that in the set. And these are kind of those pinwheels where you can, it's almost like a rosette. You can cut one color, cut a second one, and just stack them. So they don't accordion fold, but they give you the illusion of that great pinwheel. Very fun and easy. And then this is what I was talking about on the circles, right? This set already, they actually have the outline circle, which I'll show you what I did with it. I did something a little different. A small circle, and then this, if you want, well, hello there, that would just drop in when you're cutting it, or you can just drop these in as well. So again, creative options. That's what I love as a maker. That's what I had so much fun playing, is that it's really good. Are the vent magnets sturdy, light, strength, flimsy? Well, they're flimsy because they're vent covers, but that's all I've used my entire die cutting career because they work for me. They're inexpensive, they're very lightweight, and quite honestly, I don't take out my dies and just flick them in the wind. I take them out, and I like the fact that I can easily bend this and pop the die off. So to me, they've worked perfect all along. I know that they have other magnet sheets that are much more durable, and some people like that, but
much more pricey.
Yeah, so do what works for you, but that does work for me. I find them, I mean, even like, oh, I didn't even bring that piece out. I have it right here. This is what did I do with it? Oh my gosh, there's a BetterPress plate. I don't even know where my packaged one is with this as well, because I'll talk about it. But here's the alpha and the number, but this BetterPress plate, oh my gosh, it is so good. Anyway, I put that on here as well, but see, you know, these are heavier than a die, and that magnet holds perfect. So yeah, I think it really, it just works for me. Again, you do you. So that's pretty much kind of what I have organized, if you will. You can use that term loosely because, you know, I like these sheets because obviously I just throw stuff on, hopefully that it fits. I don't necessarily need to do any of that. So, okay. So let's just kind of, I don't know really where I'm going with this, as you can tell, but that's the whole creative play about it. All right. So when it comes to, I know, I just saw Scrapbook Central, like the Steamboat Willie BetterPress. Oh my gosh, I'll get into that. And you can foil with it as well, which I did. So, but before we kind of get into the techniques, I want to just kind of go over the ingredients a little bit, because I was introduced to Spellbinders Colorwheel Cardstock this year, and they had launched that. If you're not familiar with it, I'm telling you, as a paper crafter, you know that we are always in search of paper. I design colored cardstock myself with ideology. I did stuff with coordinations back in the day when they were in. I don't think you could ever have enough cardstock myself, but I also think that you need to find the cardstock that's right for your aesthetic, okay? I've been a fan for many years of like a linen textured cardstock, and that really works, but I also found that when die cutting, when you use linen cardstock, some people love the canvas look. I mean, I've done that for years. But I find that, you know, I'm always trying to line up the grain of the linen, and I also find like when I ink, it has a little texture. So sometimes I still use a textured cardstock, but this stuff from Spellbinders, this color wheel, it is glorious. And since Denzel's here, he can provide the specs to it because he can talk about the weight and all that. But if you go to their website, you can learn all about it. It is glorious, glorious cardstock. I would have to say it's the best cardstock I've ever experienced on the market. And they do 8.5 by 11, they do 12 by 12, they do all these colors that they did themselves. So the color palette is unique to them. It's absolutely beautiful. So I'll talk about, because I don't want to get into the specs of the paper, they have that there. I just want to talk about how I store it, okay? Because I wanted a lot of it. Now they sell it like in a multi-pack where you can get one sheet of all their colors. And again, you can get it 8.5 by 11, 12 by 12. I just do this because I'm always going to cut it down. But then they also do bulk packs, which I always think is cool, but also probably the most rare thing in the industry. There's not many places that will do both. So I have, these are also, gosh, it's like an infomercial for Spellbinders, but really the stuff works. These are called stash stacks, and they're these hinged little, they're like boxes, if you will. They open in the back like this, and they're perfect for paper. They do, again, both sides, but I have like my whole palette in here. So you can kind of see in rainbow order where they just stack up. You kind of get where I'm going, because I, of course, wanted a backup pack of all of this paper. I would say the price of this paper is not for the faint of heart, but you get what you pay for. That's really what it is. So it's the finest cardstock. I wouldn't say that it's overpriced at all. I would just say that you're paying for quality. It's not going to be like a nickel a sheet. You know, it's stuff that's really nice. It inks well, it holds up to water well, and of course it die cuts like a dream. So there's my bulk, but this is really what I want to talk about. I've talked about these. I have pretty chunky fingers whenever I work with stuff, and when I was trying to work in these, I struggled figuring out how to get the paper out for me. So these I would consider my storage boxes, meaning this is where I would store the extra stuff, okay, my extra backups of color. And then I wanted a workable bin, a workable box that I would keep one of each color in so I could just go through, and I would keep it in color order, okay? So here's what I did, and it's just strange, and it's me, and I'm good being me and being strange. Okay. I have my stack. So when I open this up, you're gonna see I have this little tab that I can pull up, and now I can flip through all of my colors. And you'll see that even if I cut it, I put it back in the spot, because it doesn't matter if I have a full sheet or a half a sheet or a part of a sheet or anything like that. I have it all in there, and I have this tab, and then I can just push that and drop it down, and this just folds down and close. What I used was one of the storage pouches. These are the storage pouches that Simon Says Stamp does. And all I did was take this, cut off these little wells, you can use a scissor, you can use a knife, whatever. Now I'll show you the mechanics of it. Yeah, because like if it had a little indent for my thumb or a finger, that would work, but this works great. So all I did, now you can see my mechanics, took a piece of chipboard and I taped just one part, because I only needed the back side of the pocket and this little flap. I just taped it to a piece of chipboard. This chipboard happens to be black, but I just put a piece there. So that is my tab. So it's very thin. It gives me something to pull, and all my paper sits there, because you need something rigid to actually pull up the stack of paper. And then again, just flip through it, and then it just goes right in and close. So that's what I use. Okay. So just so you know, that's how I'm kind of working, but I absolutely love this paper. So then once I use the paper, just to kind of give you my thing for cutting, once I use the paper, I have a couple of little storage pockets that I keep my cut pieces in.
Everybody likes your idea.
It just works. You know, just if you have one of these and you use paper, and it doesn't necessarily have to be that, but the whole idea is like, make some sort of base with a tab. You know, it might even be a piece of ribbon or something that just allows you to pull up the paper, to flip through it, and then put it all back in there. Because I think keeping more clean cut pieces in here works for me. Some people just like to hack their paper and throw it in, no problem. But I mean, I want to use all of my paper up. I don't want to have a lot of waste. So to me, at this point, scrap paper is, you know, I take care of it. So in here, I've got a pack of just any kind of scrap papers. This isn't just Colorwheel. There's a couple pieces of Ideology, craft stock like metallic, or maybe black heavy stock from the Distress line with Ranger. But then any of the papers that I put adhesive on the back, I've talked about how I run paper through a Xyron machine where I put the adhesive on the back of it. Then that's where it has the release paper. Often I'll take little strips or little scraps of paper and run it through a Xyron. So these are all pre-adhesived papers, which makes assembly easier, but we can go either way. We can do paper or we can do glue. I'll talk about both of those. So that's pretty much kind of my paper setup that I wanted to talk about because, well, we're just going to start playing. All right. So far, so good. I think I kind of just gave you the basics of what I've been doing. I'm going to bring in my mat. Let's put this on here. Okay. All right, Lynn, now we are cooking. We got stuff. Okay.
What do you need?
Got the glass mat?
Anything?
No, I'm good. Cool. You're good?
There you go.
Oh.
Down a little bit.
Well, okay. He's like, up, down.
Does that help you?
Yeah, no, that's good. We're good. Okay. So some of the stuff that we did first. Well, the cool thing about making the mouse is that there's a lot of repetition involved. I will say the first one is a little tricky, and that's really why I wanted to do this live as well, because I'll admit, I struggled when I made my first one. I even messaged Denzel, I'm like, is there like an instruction book for this? Because I mean, I understand dies, but I don't know if because it's just done different than, how I've worked with stuff. But that's not to say that once you figure it out, it goes quick, repetition. So the whole thing about building the mouse is that the body is separate from the head. And that's also great because you can, you can change its orientation. It can be looking up and down. And I like that, once I understood where I was going, because I got very confused with these dies and the fact that they were going the other way. But what I wanted to do is once I understood the foundation of it, it was like, okay, it's go time. This is where compartmental making comes in, okay? This is my compartmental making. So the base, when you're making the majority of these, is going to be black as your base and white for the face. All the other colors, and I'll show I've got just a lot of fun. They're so freaking cute. Like all of the other things, look, I mean, come on. So cute. Look at this. Oh, let me bring her in. Like even down to look at the little bloomers. So cute. And the little flower on the hat. Okay. And just that little detail. So you can see the majority of this is black, from the background of the head, the arms, the body. So I did all those pieces ahead of time. And these I did not do any adhesive on. I just wanted to, because it's just a foundation. If I need to, I can glue it or use foam squares or whatever. The black cardstock that I chose was Distressed Black Heavy Stock. It's my favorite black.
It's beautiful.
They do have black cardstock in the Colorwheel line, but I love that the black suede feel of this paper. So that's what I use for all of the background foundation. Then the white, I did use the white from their collection, but there again, if you had some other kind of white or you wanted watercolor cardstock, doesn't really matter. But you'll see that the orientation of these faces are good. Now these, we did Xyron because I'm going to start sticking on. So anything that I build, I like to do Xyron just because it makes it a sticker. Doesn't mean you have to do it that way. You can still use glue, okay? So that's really all the bulk pieces, and we'll build some stuff because I want you to see that, okay? So let's just break these down. They're so cute. The whole thing about what I liked about these pieces is that once you start building, the hand gestures are really sweet, if you will. So this, of course, I just use different colors. You can follow any of the colors. I loved the black and white, just using grayscale, because of course he does come with the Steamboat Willie hat that you can add. So see, the hat is just a piece that you put on there. So you can have classic mouse without, or you can have Steamboat Willie with that. And these grays, both of these grayscale, that's in their cardstock collection. This is what I was talking about, the different poses and hands. Not only did the hand, see, it's like she's holding a little fist, she's kind of clutching her hand, but do you see how the pinky is extended and she's holding it? That little thumb, I'm going to try to hold it as close as possible, is already cut in the die. Again, whoever does actually designed the cuts of this, brilliant job, because even that little detail in the hand where you would want to put something under the thumb, and you get that hand going either way. So this one would be if Mickey was holding something, and this one is if Minnie was holding something. You can see right in there that both of the thumbs are cut through the die. So it's very easy to just slide something in. So the flower, which also comes with the die, can, see, it can be posable. You can glue it in, but it's also something that, you know, maybe it was something else that you had. Maybe it's a pennant flag, or, you know, maybe you wanted them to hold a string or something. I just thought that was like, these are the details that you don't necessarily capture in packaging. So when I was using it, I'm like, that's so cool. That's so clever. And I love that just changing the color palette to me totally changed the vibe of what these look like. So I thought that was really fun. Also, you can see in the tails. So like on this one, just a little short tail. This one's more of a little swoop. Then that swoopy tail, it can swoop up. But of course, if you change it and put it on this mouse, it can swoop down. So it's not like you can only put one tail on one mouse. You really get the creative options. Isn't that easy? All right, let's put one together. It's so fun. Okay, so we'll do the guy. We'll do the classic mouse. Okay, so again, all pre-cut. So when you cut, and maybe this is because it's distress black heavy stock, I'm not sure. There are crease rules in there. Can you kind of see there's little outlines of where things go? I really didn't follow it. I'll just kind of share my tips, but just know that if you, Mario's like, shocker. But just know that if you're like, well, is there like a place exactly where to put it? Yes, there is a crease line, but I'll just give you some tips where you don't need to overthink it, okay? So I've got the head, then I'm gonna have the face, then I'm gonna have the body. So it's always gonna be head and body, and you'll have the face. Then pick a tail. Do I want like a straight tail, or do I want a little hook curvy tail? I'll just do that. So see, again, if you just sit down and you kind of create these base pieces, you knock this out. Mario did these for me, and he was just like, I don't know, it took him maybe 15 minutes. And he's like, so do you need any more? And that's great, because then this is done. Then, then you have these pieces where when you go to make them, it's quick. Instead of like, oh, I've got to do this, I got to do this. Cut your foundation pieces out in bulk, because it will 99% of the time always start with these colors, and then all the other, the hat, the shoes, the shorts, the skirt, the hat, that's all just going to be color change. Then you've got the hand gestures. And again, you've got these that are a little bit more, surprise coming out, or they could be up in the air. You've got shorter arms if you didn't want the arm, but I love the long arms. I would say this is my favorite one. And then you have, again, the holding, where you're holding a flower, maybe you're fist bumping. I don't know. Okay. So when you do the hands, and I'll show you these, if I can get two different ones out of the bowl, just so you can see that they are in fact different. Okay, I can't really say it's a right and a left. I'll just say that they're different. I'm going to move this tray over here. I can already see myself spilling it over. The difference between these two is really it's the opposite of each other. So see how that hand is like open and the thumb, I'll say, is pointing down, and that one's pointing down? You really could use either one. Like I'll just show you on the body. See, because you put it in the back. So you might want the hand in the back flared out versus in the front. It doesn't really matter. It's completely up to you. That's, I think, what I needed to get over when I started doing this, where I'm like, where are the instructions? And it's like, well, there are no instructions. You do you do what you want to create. So, but if you wanted, the thumbs like sticking up or flaring up more, then you would have this other one, which, again, that thumb is, see the difference? Flared out. Again, no right or wrong. I'll do this one. Why not? All right, throw that back in. So this is my foundational pieces. I've got black, and then I've got the face. Now we'll talk about the clothes and how we want to approach that, because I haven't cut those out, so I'm going to. I'll cut them out. I think I'll just go traditional, just so you can kind of follow along and see, because this is where things are a little interesting. We've got a shoes, so there you go, both shoes on there. We've got this, and this is actually the back, the white part of the buttons, which you'll see in just a second. And then that other little piece is for his hat that we won't actually use. But once you have your dies, honestly, you'll figure it out. Don't freak out. This was the one that I'm like, I don't even understand what this is. But there's a little tab on here, and it says mouth. And this is the mouthpiece. It's actually what goes behind the mouth to create the tongue. So the tongue could be red, like I did here. Pink, it could be gray. And this is what I'm saying. The design concept is really brilliant. Once I understood it, I was like, because now you don't have like, to stack a tongue where the tongue looks like it's falling out of their mouth. It's very, see, perspective wise, it's like his jaw is on the outside, and then as you go in, then the tongue's in the back. It's so good. Okay, so we have those pieces, and then of course the shorts, because we want the shorts. So that's, I mean, really, when you're dressing them, there's not much to it. You know, same thing with Minnie. You'll have the little bloomer color. There's the dress, the parts of the hat. There are the shoes on there, and then the flower in the hat. This flower is the one, you know, the big flower they can hand. But I'm going to talk about this one in a second because that was also cool. But let's focus, Holtz. Okay, so for these, because I just want it to be fairly quick, I'm going to take the pre-adhesive backed cardstock. That's the stuff that I've Xyroned. So I always look, because if the back is white, I know that that's what it has. And I'll pick the colors. So I know I'm going to need red, because that's going to be for the shorts and the tongue. And I'm going to need some yellow. That's it. Like, that's all you need here. You know, you may want to do other things, and we're going to get into other ways, because trust me, once I started this, it was all over for me. But look at these colors, like that color. And I love that they have different shades and different tones. There's not just one yellow. There's a light yellow, you know, kind of a mustard yellow. Love it. All right. So I'm just going to grab my Sidekick. Use whatever machine you want. Like I said, this is not an infomercial, so don't get all judgy McJudge here. All right. Use what you have. Use the play. Well, that's the thing. Like, the thing about creative people, they're like, oh, you're using this with this. It's like, yeah, we're makers. We use what we want. Okay. So I've got the shorts going in red. I told Mario, I'm like, this is just going to be like a little all over the place. He's like, all right. So here's what I do. I take a scrap. I kind of generally lay out the dies that I need in that color. I don't want them touching, because it's not worth damaging my die to save paper. Always give yourself a little breathing room for shifting. And then I'm just going to go in and just chop that off. So I need those in red. Again, that's the shorts and the tongue. Then on yellow, I'm going to need for the shoes. And I just like to do a lot of straight cuts, because if I start going around corners, it's those little pieces that I'll never use.
Talk about
So
how
I just don't.
Shoes are.
Oh my gosh.
Her shoes.
They're
just
look at that.
They're cutest.
Even especially like when you go to the park, like truly the opening of that, like in those heels, hilarious. It's so cute. Okay. Oh, I do need white. Okay. So I'm going to take and you can do white, or maybe you want to do light gray, or you could do metallic. Again, you just do whatever. But I hope that seeing this is going to help you. Just kind of help you on the build. It's very, very easy. So I just like to kind of have my papers, because I feel that if you just set yourself up for success, it won't be frustrating when you do small, tedious things. But this is why I'm going to show you adhesive back, but then we're going to do this one with glue. Just so you don't think like, oh, well, if I don't have, you know, a fancy little adhesive machine, I can't do it. Yeah, you can. You can. All right, so I'm just going to put all these pieces. The other thing I like, and this is what I was saying at the beginning about this cardstock that I felt was very freeing, I am so used to lining up my dies to the grain or pattern of a textured cardstock. And because this is smooth, but not so, like, I can't describe it. For those of you that have this, I'd be curious if any of you have bitten the bullet on this cardstock as well. You can see that it's like, you see the texture. I can't say texture because it's not. It's smooth cardstock, but you can see all the different like linen type in this paper, like the pulp almost. So it gives you this slight gradation of color, and that's what I was attracted to, because to me, it just looks just great. It doesn't look like a spray painted piece of cardstock. So
they worked with the mill for 2 years.
There you go. Well, it's worth it. Time well spent, I will say, because it is glorious. And I'm not just saying that. I'm just telling you. I can't imagine anyone getting this and going, oh, no, I've had better. No, you haven't. There's little shoes. Look at them. And they even kind of show you like how they're going to go. So cute. The weird one, like, this is the little mouth, and it kind of debosses the word mouth. So you kind of remember, although I never do. And then there's a little shorts. So I'll pop that out. Let me get that out. That's how we clean out our dies around here. And then we have this. Now, the other benefit of putting Xyron, it, like your pieces often stay in a little bit better, but not always guaranteed. All right, I'm just gonna stick these back down. So see, this is what I like about it. You start filling in the blanks. I don't follow the same pattern. I just kind of do that. Okay. So we have our pieces. Let's just do the simple build. Are you ready? Now, this is not the how-to book thing because there's not necessarily a how-to book. This is do what you do and do what works for you, and that's what I'm going to do. So here's how I approach it. The first thing I do is I want to get this face on. So I work with a craft pick versus a die pick. If you have a die pick and that's all you have, use it. But the difference between a die pick and a craft pick is that the craft pick is often a little sharper on the point. But if it works, if your die pick works, use what works for you. Okay, so all I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of slide this between the cardstock and the adhesive to get the backing on, because to get the backing off is a bit challenging, but I find that the craft pick works for me. Some people like tweezers. If tweezers is your jam, use tweezers. Because this is sticky, I just put it onto the pick and that helps me place it. What I love about the way this is designed, and I'll hold up the mouse, is you need to approach it in a very animated perspective. And I say that meaning often we're trying to like line up a die to an edge, right? You know, you're like in Colorize, it was like, you know, line this up to this piece, line this up to this edge. But for these, I love the animated style, meaning there's like a subtle black outline pretty much around everything. And you can either do it even, or even if you offset it one way or the other, it doesn't look bad at all. It looks perfect. So, I mean, see, you can see like the little black line around the shoes. That's just the gap that you get to create as the maker. So don't think like, oh, I need to find the lines. They are almost foolproof when you start playing around with them, because you can have as much black revealed like up here or more down here. It doesn't really matter. Okay. And I'll show you what I mean. So you're just going to take that and you're going to kind of place it down kind of like that. You can adjust it a little bit. So see, he's got like a bigger brow up there. So I'm just going to push this up a little bit. And once you're happy with it, you just kind of push it down. So there we go. So I'm happy with that. Done. Already. Look how great. I mean, already he has personality. So see, the cutouts are just showing the black, the nose showing the black. And if you wanted this move forward, well, move forward. And the other thing, like especially if you use a Xyron, it is very forgiving. You can just peel this up and we can slide it forward, but I'm not going to bother. Okay. There's that. Next, we've got the tongue, the mouth. Okay. That's this little piece. Now, to me, it has a little curve. The bottom of this has a curve. So I'm just going to call that like a win. I'm going to use glue. Now you can use whatever glue you want to use, whatever liquid glues you want. Again, not an infomercial, but if there's new stuff that I like, I'm going to share. I've been a huge fan of collage medium. I use distressed collage medium for 99.9% of my makes, but collage medium is much thicker. And this is a craft glue that Simon Says just released. So thanks Heidi for sending this to me. It comes in 2 sizes. I'm just going to use the tiny one. It's a very fluid glue that dries zippity-doo, dries super fast, and it's matte. So I'm holding this up to the camera. Normally I would totally be working on the matte, but I'm just trying to show you, like when you go to put out the glue, you see I'm not even applying much pressure and that glue comes out. You do not need to do a big old outline of this. You're not icing a cake, okay? You're just putting a little bit of glue on there. The reason we don't want a large amount is because when you push it down, the glue is going to have to ooze out. So I just take that little tongue, just do that to where it's not overhanging anywhere on the head, and there's our color that's showing through, okay? And I'm just going to push that down, and it's done. It's dry. So there you go. There's his little... So fun. Okay, moving on. Next, we're going to go to the body. So don't forget this step, the shorts. This is the part that got a little weird because I was so excited to put pants on him, but that just didn't work for me. I'm going to peel this off. It already takes out those 2 holes. That's what we need to cover up with this piece. So this piece is white and it has like 2 little, I'll just say debossed circles. That's where the buttons kind of go. So I peeled off the adhesive, which means this one's just going to stick on there. But this is actually cut in the same orientation. So you can just stick that on. You don't really notice if in fact, even if the little deboss line is a little offset, it gives it a drop shadow. So like I said, don't freak your freak. What you'll need to remember though, is if you put adhesive on the back of this, which I did on the white, you'll need to peel this layer off as well. So I'm just going to peel that off. Now I've got his shorts already stuck to the pick. pick up the body, and put the shorts down. Now, when you put this down, like I said, it's that whole animated look. So see, I can give him a little drop shadow on his little rump there, or I can slide this over. And once you're happy with it, you just push it down. Done. Okay, moving on. Shoes. Seriously, look at the detail in there. So cute, the little cut lines. Same thing, just gonna peel this off. Stick the shoe on the pick. Does it matter which shoe you start with? I don't think so. I mean, it might for you, but I just start there. Now here's the thing. Oh, I think I already cleaned it up. Oh, there you go. There's like a little tiny, see that little bit of, you guys get that when you do detailed die cutting. Sometimes you get that little, you know, little paper shrapnel there. Don't worry about it when you're building, because you can always go in with a pick and like clean it off. Even sometimes if it's in a hole, you can just go in with a pick and clean any of that out. So that works for me. So see on his shoes, there's another little piece. I can move these shoes around. I'm going to do it down here on the table. I'm going to take the pick and just kind of push that shoe up. Again, just using my craft pick, just so I get that little black line on the bottom. Cute. Okay, next shoe. See, it's already cut. See, layered and everything. Brilliant. And when you embrace that whole animated look, it is as freeing as it is right now. You just do it. And that's why I wanted to do this, because I felt like, well, gosh, I was, you know, I even design dies and I'm super intimidated putting this together. Maybe if some people see it, they'll see it's easier than you think. Because all the things that like my brain was telling myself of like, line this up, do this. No, just embrace the space. You have it. So there we go. There's the body. Okay. So now I have the head and the body done. Now, if you look at the body, I don't know if the camera's going to pick it up. I don't think it will. But if you're holding this die yourself, you'll see it. There is a little debossed line just under the neck that is visible. I just don't think it is, but I'll show you on the die. This little line right here on both of them is kind of giving you a little indication of where you can line up the chin with the body. Now, you might want it to be higher and look like a bobblehead, and you might want it to be a little lower. It's completely up to you. There's no right or wrong. But now I'm going to do the build. So just do a little bit of glue. Just put some of that right there. This glue dries really quick, so just put the cap on. Then I'm just going to take that, kind of place it down. And this is where you can decide, like, do I want them looking up? Do I want them looking down? But you need to make a decision before the glue dries because, well, decision's made. So I'm just going to push that down. Okay, done. Now I'm going to take the hands. And what I like to do for this, you're just going to need to put a little bit of glue on that, I'll just say that joint right there where it's connected. If you didn't want to use glue, you can use whatever you want. Foam square, whatever, but glue works. You don't need to glue down the arms. Give yourself a little creative play. Then you're going to pick them up. They kind of go right behind the neck. So that same kind of area, and you just position. There again, while you're doing this, you can decide, do you want that hand to be raised? Do you want that to go up? It just creates so much personality, and that's why I like to work on the mat, because I can see it. So I'm not like building in the air. It just makes it easier. And then once I'm happy with it, I'm just going to press down because I want wherever that glue is to make contact with whatever's back there. I have no idea. I'm pretty much gluing it to the body, I think, and maybe the head. Doesn't matter. Contact is contact. Then we've got our tail. Again, little landing spot for the glue. Little dot there. And then you just pick it up and you say, okay, like, do I want the tail to be high? Do I want the tail to be low? If you're going to like have him standing on something, just be mindful that you don't have the tail going past his feet. That's all. You know, I'm sure that, you know, there might be some animators out there that have a little bit more, you know, some more rule on the dress up of that. But there again, you can also decide how long or short you want it to be. Press down just to make contact and you're done. That's it. Cute as can be. Seriously. Boom, boom, boom. So easy. Okay. And we're going to, trust me, we're going to get into personality and dress up. Right now, we just need to figure out the basics, because once you get through the basic build, it's like, it's so easy. Okay, let's do her, because she's got a couple little tricks. Same thing. Let's bring him in. We doing okay, Mario? Because I'm just,
Doing great.
I have to apologize, guys. I'm having so much fun. I'm so I'm really used to looking at the chat. But yeah, Rosemary just said, Tim is in heaven. I'm so used to the chat, but you're right. This is like a freaking dream come true. Yes.
One question.
Okay.
On the red and yellow, do they
Yes.
have a name? Or like
Oh, well, they probably do in the Spellbinders world, but I'm not savvy with their names. So if you go to their website, they will have a name, but I'll show you from my cardstock bucket. Here, let me move this. I'm just not familiar with the names because, again, to me, it's glorious paper. But let me just go through. I'll hover right over the top. So if I'm in the yellow department, I got to get to the yellows. Hold on. Come on. Past orange to yellow. Okay. So I guess if you look at these, there's a light yellow, a bright yellow, and maybe kind of a dirty yellow. So I guess that's what I use, the dirty yellow. But see, you could use whatever you want. So yeah, I'm not sure what the official, I'm sure that's not called dirty yellow, but yeah. Are there gloves for them? There are not, because that's not the right kind of mouse, quote unquote, for for licensing purposes. However, it's very easy to just cut a pair of arms in white and then just cut off the arm, and yes, you will have gloves. Okay, so very easy that you can create it, but I'm sure due to licensing, again, you'll have to familiarize yourself with the public domain and the style of mouse that is allowed for production. But yes, modification, great, because actually this is the Steamboat version, Steamboat Willie. Okay, these are more classic, but as a maker, you can do whatever you want, which is exactly what I'm doing. Okay, so same rules are going to apply for this one. We've got our base pieces in black, then we've got the tail, and then we've got the face. Okay, so we'll create these other elements, cut them out. So I'll pick out some colors. In this case, I'll pick out just a couple different colors of red. Oh, I can use this one. No, I won't. I'll use this one. Here's a couple, see, here's just a couple shades of red. You can do them dark, light, no rules, doesn't matter. Yellow shoes will do. A little white for the bloomers. For the flower, I'm gonna do a little green. These are, again, I did say I was gonna glue this one, so let's do that. I don't wanna, you've seen some glue. I'll still glue. It's gonna be challenging for me though, guys. I'm so used to doing it one way, but I said I'll do it another way, so that's just what I'm gonna do. So this is just un-Xyron cardstock, just so you can see you can still do the build. Okay, I just gotta find my colors. Little red, there's some green, there's some yellow, there's a little bit of white, perfect. And from the red, do I have two-tone? No, so that one I'll have to cheat. That's okay. And sometimes I'll even look to see if I can use, a scrap that I have. I may be able to, I can definitely get another mouth out of that. So I'll do that. But I am gonna need another piece, for the hat. So I'll just cheat on that one, okay? Because I'm gonna show you a trick on the dress too, because, well, I like that. All right, so far, so good. I know I am living on the edge, you're right. Here we go. So first let's just we've got to do the mouth. So the mouth is going to be for both, okay? And probably not everything on this one is going to work. The flower, so the flower is one die. So if you want this, you would need to cut it in the stem color and then the flower color, and then I'll talk about the center. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do the stem one first, which will be green. And we're going to get into way more fun stuff once we do the build, but I want you to be comfortable with the build because you do need to do it a few times to kind of get out of your head. It's not intimidating at all. Whoa, that piece is massive for that. So see, once I do that, you just save the scrap, okay? There's that part of the hat. The shoes, they're so tiny and cute. So the cardstock actually goes a long way, well, especially if you're doing smaller dies. Let's just say that. Okay, so I've got the tongue on then I have like the little bloomers. It's a tiny little die, see? But it's right there. Because you can imagine that once you get comfortable with the build, the sky's the limit on paper choice. I do love the colored cardstock, but I'll show you that I definitely went way outside the box on this. Okay, so I'm just going to place this down. I didn't do the dress because I'm going to talk about the dress in a second. Okay, so when I have all of my dies placed, especially if I'm using the Sidekick, you can see I hold the sandwich really tight because I don't want anything to shift. And so that's why I have a tendency to prefer a small machine for small dies. It's way easier to control, I think. So that's what I like to use for the small elements. But really, if you only have a Sidekick, you can use all of these in just the Sidekick. Okay, but because when Mario was doing all the black, you could put all the black dies on a piece of paper and cut them out at one time. So that's he just used, you know, the fold away. But you could use whatever machine. It's just for small. I prefer a small machine. Okay, so I'll put these pieces back. I need the flower again because I need to cut that in white. Take a die pick, cut out the mouth. There you go. Okay, this is where we're going to start adding some different pieces. There's the hat. This is the band for the hat. So that's going to be a different color. There's our flower. And when I work with stuff, like if it's, oh, I can tell there's got to be a piece of paper. Where is that little bit of white bloomer? Oh, I'll find it. Or I'll just cut it again. See, just like everything else, you put it down and the small, I mean, that little die is dinky.
What did you lose?
It's like a tiny little piece of a bloomer. I'll just cut it again. Don't freak your freak. It's easy. Easy enough.
There?
Nope. Mm-mm. It's the other part of that piece. So it's that. You see that tiny little one? So who cares? Just cut it again.
Who cares?
By the time you find it, please.
I like the treasure
It's like
hunt.
nap time. I know. Mario's like, I need to find what you did with it. But the funny thing about this particular piece is you would swear it's like just a piece of trash because it's just that small. That's what it is. You see it?
Let me see. I gotta see what I'm looking for. Oh my gosh.
That's why I said don't bother. Okay, let's put that back. Then for the flower, let's see. Can I cheat on this one? No, denied. All right, let's put this over here. Oh, there's an extra piece. Be mindful of how many pieces. I tend to have like a little scrap pile. Like when I'm done, you can see I'm kind of just working the way I work. When I'm done with something, I put it away. Yeah, no, it's not still in the die because the die's over there, but that's all right. Wherever it goes, it goes.
I'll find it.
Yeah. Okay, so there's the white part of the flower. So I didn't need the stem on that because that's the piece I'm going to layer. So I have that. I have the shoes, so I can pop out the shoes. Okay. Then I'll save this piece. That's her, this. We're going to get in the dress. Okay, I need to do the other part of her hat.
Someone said it's under the green flower.
Excellent. No, that's the other piece. That's all right. Really, that's totally fine. Okay, I do need another piece of red. I'll do this one. This is going to work. I can use the same shade of red. It's not a problem. Or I could do pink. It could be whatever you want. Okay, so I've got the tongue. I'm just doing my little inventory. The flower, the hat. Good deal. There's that. That goes back. Okay. So I've got the hat. I've got the two pieces of flower, the bloomer, her shoes, her mouth. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the dress. And one other cool feature, which I was like, brilliant. Okay, Mickey and Minnie. Look at that little detail. Do you see the eyelashes? Now, this, if you wanted to do this body, but you wanted his head to look the other way, you could technically use this head to look that way, even though his body, you know, like he's looking behind him, or vice versa. But what's really cool about this is that there is this die right here for her lashes. I think that's brilliant. The lashes are kind of a separate piece, a separate part that you get to put on. So this is just such a tiny die. So there again, even if I'm using a tiny thing, I just always cut my cardstock in a strip because I just feel I'll use the smaller strip versus chopping out of a sheet, but do whatever. There's my little eyelash piece that we're going to need. So cute. Okay. There you have it. So now we'll have that little piece and we'll put on her lashes. Okay. So looking off to the side, anything that I have that is still a solid piece of paper, I put back. But you do you. You can throw it away. You can do whatever works. Anything that's cut, I kind of got to put the little lashes back. I kind of take inventory of that now. And other than a little bit of yellow, I'm going to get rid of these. Because I think when you start assembling, you won't really know what's to keep and what's to throw away. Okay, let's talk about the build and then we'll get into the dress and the flower. So just like the other one, we're going to start with the face. I'm going to pick this up. Say it's under the poke. No, someone said it's under the pokey tool. Nope. Who knows? It's so tiny. Okay, just going to peel that off. Same thing. Place it down. Figure out like where you want. See, if you did that, there's not much of a nose. So you just kind of set back and go for that animated vibe. Go for that little drop shadow. Oh, another thing. You see this little mark right here? This little kind of, I don't know, it's a little dimple. It does kind of do a little deboss cut, but if you go in with a pick, you can actually dig out that little bit of paper, just a bit. There's not much, but if you scrape it off, you see that tiny little piece? Okay, that little piece that I just scraped off, look at when you place it down, how much more you see that little dimple. So for her, I'm going to do that. I like that. Okay, there's that little bit of extra paper. You just take it off. Cute. Okay, lashes. The lashes, they actually go on the back, much like the mouth. So this little piece where I was like, what is that? Is that an eye? Like, how is this working? This goes right on the back, right over that little kind of white area. That's a great way to kind of line it up and see, there's her eyelashes. Come on, the details, so cute. So we're gonna use a little glue just to put that down. All I'm going to do is that little white part right there, right above the eye. That's where I think it looks great. I'm not sure if that's, I was close. I was close to their example. See? I mean, come on. So cute. Then we've got the tongue. Now this is the piece that I did use a little adhesive, but I'm still need to use the glue. So like I said, on this glue, you're just using a tiny amount and you don't have to go all the way around. You just need some little scriggly zibbly and that's it. Then take the piece, make sure you're going to stick that color side down so it just pops through the mouth. And as long as nothing hangs over the top, that's it. You have a lot of working space for that. And then just push down so it makes contact. I need to clean out, there's like a little extra black in there from the paper. All those little shavings, I think a pick takes that out perfectly. So there we go. There's the tongue. She's adorable. And I'm not doing any inking yet, but we'll get there. So don't think that I've abandoned ink altogether. That's crazy talk. Okay, a little bit of glue. The other thing about this glue that I found, besides that it's super fluid and so easy, it doesn't clog. Like if you don't get it to go, you just wipe your finger over the top and it gets going right away. So this is the hat. Now the hats are really interesting because they have a little notch both on the little Steamboat pilot hat. See that little cut? And so it's really easy to know like where it goes on their head. So you'll see here, see that little cut notch where it kind of gives you the illusion that is going behind the ear? That's already done in the die. I think that's cool. Okay, so we have that. Those are the shoes. Okay, here's a flower. Let's do the flower for the hat. So I'm just going to take that little bit of the end of the flower, that circle. I'm going to stick that down just wherever you want it to be. The white part for the flower, I'm going to just do that. Hey, Robin Beam. Oh, there's an assembly PDF in the carousel on the website. So there you go. If you go to Spellbinders website, there is an assembly PDF for this. So thanks for saying that.
Michelle
that's cool.
Said, Tim, you are the perfect person. No, well, that's the wrong comment. Oh,
Okay.
Let me find it. Oh, Michelle said, it's so cool to see Tim building a mouse. The former cast member in me is so giddy.
Oh my gosh. Former cat, that's a dream. So cool. I mean, really, I've said to Mario so many times, I'm like, I want to work there. He's like, no, you don't. You just want to be there. I love it. It's so much fun to play. So I'm going to put a little bit of glue on the pick just so I can pick that up, and I'm going to place it down. Okay, so there's my flower. Okay, now we're getting into the outfit, the ensemble. So here we have it. We'll start with the shoes. This is where this glue really comes in handy because you don't need to cover every little area of that die cut piece. And it's just a little dot, and everybody has tricks of how they glue small elements. Some dip, some, use a brush, some use whatever. But the only thing about the glue is you have a little bit of playtime, but it is designed to grab pretty quick. But again, embrace the animation style. Embrace that little black outline wherever it lands. It may land different than the last one you did, but it's still going to give the same great aesthetic. So don't panic. Don't overthink it. Just have fun. And you could even kind of get in repetition with like, oh, I'm going to do all the shoes, or maybe you're going to do sparkly shoes, or you'll see. I do have some theme ideas for these. I often find that sometimes I have to work upside down to make sense of it. So do what works for you, but that's what worked on that second shoe. Okay. There we have it. Now the dress. Now, typical in classic style is this dress, be that a gray version or a blue version, and that's how the die is designed. Okay. But there's also very cool classic versions of Minnie where her dress is polka dotted, and it's easy. I'll admit, the first time Ask Mario, I was committed to finding the right scale polka dot paper to do this, and we couldn't. And I was like, there's no polka dot paper. And I was like, I'll use a pen. I'm like, that is not going to be for me. That's not happening. Instead, I just figured out a way to actually use the die and create a polka dotted dress. Super simple. You ready? Because we're going to give her a blue polka dotted dress, but it could be blue or red or whatever. Here's the easiest way to make polka dot from any dies that you have. Go to any store, office supply store, Walmart, wherever, and you want to buy yourself an 1/8 hole punch. Not a 1/4 inch, not standard, just the size down from that, a 1/8 punch. You're going to cut yourself 2 pieces of cardstock, whatever color you want the polka dots to be, and whatever color you want the dress to be, or whatever it happens to be. Maybe you're going to do strawberries. I have no idea what you're going to do. Okay? And what you want to do is you want to cut both of those with the die you're using. So in this case, I'm going to cut this using the dress. So I need to cut it twice. Just think of it as like one in the top color, one in the bottom color. So I'll do this in red. But I've used this trick a lot where it's like, we're going to use it for the flower too. Because we talked about like, how do you think I got the center of the flower? The same little hole punch. Yeah, you could probably take a little poke away from something here. Maybe, the center of the other flower, or, maybe Mickey's buttons in his shorts. That's fine. But in this case, you just it just totally works. Okay. So I've taken the dress, I've cut it twice. This is going to be the solid background, and this will be the polka dots. And what I like about this also is that the polka dots can be so random that it kind of works with the orientation of the dress, if you will. Okay. So all I'm going to do, you can see the hole. This is kind of old school, and then you just punch. However many polka dots you want and wherever you want them to be. You can even have them like going off the edge a little bit. Doesn't matter. Okay. Then once you're done, we've got the polka dot. See, there's one that's like a little cut off. Great. You're just going to take this. This was already, I think this was iron. If it wasn't, you can just add your glue. You have the technology. So this is just a demo on how to do the polka dot. And this one you just stack because it is the same exact die. I suppose you could offset it. That's fine. But there you have it. Now you have a little polka dot dress. So it can always be random and fun and fluid and organic and just great. So I'm going to empty that little hole punch first, because if I'm going to punch the center of the flower out of some yellow, that's why I saved that. Now when I dump this out, there's my little yellow dot. If you didn't dump it first, you'll learn after the first, second, or maybe 10th time you do it and sifting through all the trash trying to find it, or you just dump it and punch one. So there's going to be the center of my flower that I used from the scrap from Mickey's shoe. See, look at that, and the hat. Come on, so cute. All right, now let's get her dressed. Like I said, we're gonna do the blue. I think eyes are on this. So this one we won't use the glue because it already has it. You're just going to peel that off. Look at that. So cute. Animated style. Leave yourself some of that black outline wherever you want it to be. Clean up a little bit of that edge. It's just so charming. Slide that over. The little bloomer pieces. It's just good. See, I just feel like sometimes look, I love tools like the next person. Oh, these are not. Are these iron? No. Is it? I can't remember. No. I got to glue this. Okay. This one I'm just going to go right in on the surface because that piece is way too small for my fingers to hold on to. So I'm going to put a little glue on the end of the pick so it just grabs it. And I'm just going to place that down, and same thing. Pick that piece up, place that down. All right, there we go. Dressed for success. Okay, let's get her head on. A little bit of glue there. Place this down. So cute. All right, I like that. Absolutely adorable. Okay, hat. The hat, you can kind of get a lot of play. I just found that if you put glue just on the front part of the hat, it'll touch one of the ears, and that was enough. I really didn't know much of the contact, but you can do really whatever works. And then your flower build should be pretty secure. You could line it right up to the ear if you wanted the hat up high. I just want it back a little bit more. So I just have it like overlap that ear a little bit. That would not be the regulation way to do it, but hey, that's going to work. Okay, now she just needs her arms, so same thing.
I was able to post.
I like these little surprise ones.
From Spellbinders.
You were able to?
Yeah.
Oh, great. Thank you.
GQ sent it to me.
Mario posted that. There we have it.
So
cool.
Hopefully that'll help people with the colors.
There you go. Thank you. Okay.
You're welcome.
So I'm going to place that down. Now, on the hands, here's the other thing to note. In this instance, here, let me put it here. There you go. In this instance, I like that the hands were kind of behind her dress, right? But remember when you're doing this, that it's just paper. So if you want to bring, like in this case, I brought it over. You can have it over or under. If you want the hands to be more on the in front, then just bring them around. Bring the thumbs around. It's completely fine when it comes to creating. But yeah, how cute is she? Oh my gosh. Okay. Oops. Let me get her arms placed. Oh, it's already dry. See, we're good. That's how it's staying. Fine with me. Well, as I was showing, you can move the arms. You can only do it while your glue is wet. Okay. Sorry, this glue is awesome. All right. Time for the tail. And the tail, I would rather not put it on her hand. So there you go. I'm just going to move that. See, like under. See, I just kind of slid it under her thumb. Then it will still give me a little time to kind of position it. That's cute. Okay. Done deal. There we have it. So our builds. Fun, right? Simple, fun, easy, all different colors. You just have a good time with it. Now let's get into some other ideas. And I think, yeah, the dress thing's really fun. So as I was playing around, it like different things kind of struck me as, oh, that would be cool. That would be fun. That'd be a great way to kind of play with things. So I'll talk about that. I'll talk about some different things that we can do with the classic mouse. I'm on screen. You guys can see okay, right? I hope so. You know, I wanted to zoom in, but I didn't want to zoom in too much because then you kind of miss everything that's going on. We talked about working with different cardstocks from the Spellbinders color wheel, like great cardstock. But if you have other papers, play around with that. That's really important. So there is a paper that I did, and this is not to get anyone angry. So just take a breath. It's all okay. But if you were one like me that totally stocked up on the two-tone wood grain that we did with Ranger a couple of years ago, we did it in black and this gray. It is magic. What this was a pre-printed wood grain that actually has the two tones already done. You can see where I'm going here. Okay, so this one has like that gray and that has a light gray. These look amazing in wood grain. They look like just wooden cutouts. So I didn't do anything but choose between the gray and the black wood grain. and created these wonderful little characters. And I think they're so much fun on the wood grain paper. The only thing I would suggest if you're going to do this, maybe you don't care, but you kind of need to sacrifice some of the paper for the sake of the wood grain. Okay, like I wanted my wood grain to run the same direction on the head, on the body, on the pieces. So, you know, sometimes you may not get as much real estate out of a piece of paper if you're going that route. If you don't care, then you don't care. But that was pretty important to me. I think like when you see them on a card, then they have such a great look. And if you want them shiny, you could spray them with resist spray, and that would be great. So yeah, I just thought they looked really great in this kind of, I don't know, this great neutral wood grain look.
They are the cutest.
Oh my gosh, it was so fun. So that was really easy. And, you know, just like when we did, I mean, because I think I did this for one of the hooplas one time where you could do it all out of black. You could, instead of even contrast, you could still layer his face in black and his shorts. You won't have as much contrast, but it will still look like a carved piece of wood grain. Now, wood grain cardstock, the white version is available, and you could ink it and you could kind of create something similar to this, but I just like the simplicity of it already done and cutting that out. So again, there is white wood grain that you could ink and you could make your own, but maybe just look at some of your papers you have. You might like it in linen. You might have a lined paper. You might have I saw a wood grain stamper embossing folder that Sarah just said. So there are ways that you can create it. It's about the idea. It's not about getting hung up on a product that's not available. It's the concept of, wow, if I have wood grain cardstock, a wood grain embossing folder, a wood grain stamp, just doing these out of wood grain in a simple palette just gives it a really cool aesthetic. Because I'm going to do these again in brown, because I have white wood grain cardstock with Ranger. I'm going to ink it different shades of brown, and I'm going to build it in brown. That's fine. I just thought that was really, really easy. So yeah, I love, Zoe said the lumber embossing folder. So yeah, you could use really anything to create texture or imagery with the design. And I think that's really fun. Okay, so that was a wood grain version. But like I said before, there is no chance that I'm going to get through this and not talk about ink. Ink is life, people. For me, it is everything. And as much as I loved the black and white version, the color, creating it with wood grain, I needed to do one in distress. Here's how I approached this, because once I built these, I kind of knew the jam. I knew it's like, okay, I'm going to need black cardstock, I'm going to need white, and my color palette is really minimal. So I could have cut everything out of white and inked each piece individually, or you can just create your own papers, which is what I did. I took distress watercolor cardstock. I used the smooth side because I didn't want these to be all lumpy bumpy. And I distressed some backgrounds. Instead of white, I just used a really light dosing of antique linen. Again, water, you know, smush your ink on a craft sheet, spray it with water, dip, dry, dip, dry, dip, dry until you're happy with the vintage tone. For Minnie's dress, because I wanted that little turquoise teal color, I used a little bit of broken china. For red, I used lumberjack plaid, and you can build the intensity. It's a dye. You can use dye or oxide, and the more layers you add, the more intense the color gets. But keep in mind, because you're going to be cutting small pieces, try to create as many small flecks or specks of ink as possible, because otherwise, if everything is so smoothie, you won't get the ink drops that I'm going to show you in a second. So that's why you see like so many. That just means like I dipped, dried, and as the dots on my sheet got smaller, I kept dipping, okay? Same with yellow. But then for black, because the black cardstock I think is really key to that, I wanted something a little more intense. Could you do it with an ink pad? Absolutely, but it's going to be many, many layers. If you have spray stain, that's super fast. I sprayed spray stain on the craft sheet and just dip and dry, but you get black cardstock really quick. Doesn't mean you can't do it with an ink pad. It is similar ink than what's in the ink pad, but it just goes quicker. Could you do them all with spray stain? Absolutely. Use what you have. Okay, here's what they look like. This is where, like, for me, I don't know, the happiness was like, come on, that's distress perfection.
Look at that.
And if you're like, it looks exactly the same as the cardstock. No. But you might like this. But if you're really going for a very animated color look, it couldn't be easier. Use your inks, use your pencils, use anything. But instead of trying to focus on inking each little piece, just do some inky background paper and it will make your build so much easier. And also, see what I mean about the little drips? Just, it gives it so much personality. Now, after all of my pieces were die cut, before I assembled them, I did go around with a little walnut stain and a little tiny blending tool, and I did ink the edges of every piece. Not a lot, but just enough that you knew I was there, right? A little bit of distress. And then here she is. Like, come on. Even down to that little aged flower.
She is the cutest.
They're just the cutest.
And those shoes, look at her.
So sweet. So if inking is your jam, go for it. And if distress is not your jam, but watercolor is, then watercolor some backgrounds. You don't have to grunge the edges at all. Just the whole idea is that this collection is so brilliant that it really opens up like the maker in mind. Even though it is classic mouse, where you just think, well, what can you do other than what's already been done? You can still give it your own personality. Whether you're inking, whether you just want to use your cardstock or patterned papers, whether you want to, use hole punches or even embossing folders to give it different textures, or if you have any other kind of fun textured paper, you can do that. So I wanted to share that. So far, so good. We're doing okay. Thanks for all the kind comments, you guys, because I really did. I had so much fun. And for the retailers that are stocking this line, I'm so happy that there's retailers out there that are carrying this. So you can, people can get it. Because there's often things with collections that just aren't out forever. So you want to, if you like it, find it, enjoy it, use it. Okay. But speaking of collections, there's also something about these dies that I found really fun, which were these accessory elements. And I didn't use a ton of them, but I did use some. This one I thought was really interesting because, for me, I can always see beyond the packaging. I know a lot of people get really kind of caught up in like what they see in the packaging, but just know that sometimes the element itself is very cool. Even if you don't like, say, the basic color of that, just know that you could customize it. I think what was interesting about this is I love the idea that you could create these rings or you could create a solid circle. So I did cut out that little, well, hello there. And so for these dies, where are
What'd you lose?
Oh my gosh, the dies. Here we go. I'll just show how these were built. It's pretty easy. I'm trying to also stay on frame. Okay, so for these, it's a circle die. That's the outline. So you would place it down. Then you have another circle die. You place that down and you kind of have to, figure it out, center it. I'll just put it on just a cutting mat right there. You go. You can kind of see that a little bit better. And then you can either drop in like the half word, or in this case, the well, hello there. You can put that in. So really what you would do is you could use sticky grid, you could use tape, you could do whatever, and you'd kind of line them up and you're gonna die cut this. And what you would end up with is the piece that I already lost. There you go. You would end up with this. Well, hello there. Then I took this out because I didn't want to cut the word. I wanted to kind of make sure that was lined up. And I cut this again just in a back cardstock. You don't have to. If this was just going to go over a card front, whatever color your card front is, it would show up. Even if maybe you did inking or whatever, it would show up. But if you were going to put it on something else, just having a solid one, it does allow you to kind of stack them. Okay. What's also cool is that you can even offset it a little bit. I'll admit that, I kind of struggled a couple times keeping that center circle in the same spot, but I didn't mind when they were kind of offset. I just thought that gave it a cool look. So it is a really unique way to highlight this. But this is what's fun about this little circle. The little circle can be a lot of things. It could be something that, he's standing in front of or standing by, but I also like that he could be through it. And when he's through it, there's a lot of other things that you can do. Like you can have his hands on the outside. You can even cut off his body. So like, let's say here, I'm just going to try to, I think I'm going to rip off his head. I don't want to. Okay. There we go. Well, hello there. I'd have to put this hand. Okay. I'm putting this hand in the back just so I can get all the words to kind of show up. And he's going to have to, oh, there goes his head. Because you can't work in the air, Holtz. You'll get the idea. You can position it where he is cut off the circle. So he could stand in there, or you could cut off his feet. There you go. and you could have the well, hello there on your card. Okay, he doesn't have to stand. There's nothing wrong with you cutting off his feet and it just looks like he's popping out of the front of your card. Just a cute idea, just something really fun. He is a dancing mouse. You can give him a little action wobbler. Yeah. See, now he's like a little bobblehead. I'll fix his neck. Don't you worry about him. It's just paper. Remember, paper has no memory. It's very, very forgiving. So he's like, hold on. There you go. You're all right. You're all right. Okay. So I thought that was really cool about these pieces is that, you know, could you just use it on a card? Yes, but could you also incorporate it with the characters? Super fun. Okay. Then there was this one. Now, anyone that is a fan of the castle, it's just all about pennants and banners and flying. It's so beautiful. Yeah, his feet are okay hanging out. You can have them hang out or you can cut them off. Yeah, you do you. That's what I think. It looks great no matter. So these little pennant pieces, as I mentioned, you could cut the solid and you could cut out the little words. I did these flags, and at first, and I'm not sure if these are how they're supposed to be used, so I apologize if I'm doing a disservice to the designer, but this die had 2 sticks, and I didn't know if the 2 sticks were to make it taller, but I kind of did 2 on one and 1 on the other, because then you could just, you know, kind of crisscross them, kind of overlap them a little bit, and it just made, I don't know, I just thought it was pretty, you know, pretty fun like that. So, but what's cool about this die, as I mentioned, you've got just the outline that you could cut just the solid piece. So the solid piece was in this case white, because that's what I wanted to show through the openings. And then I did another run where I dropped in the word out of colored cardstock, and that's where you get the words to come in. And the die is already shaped for that. But look at these little ties that they included. There's a little die in here that not only has the little pennant dies, but then there's some weird little pieces. That's for those little shadows. So you see, by adding that second piece of cardstock that they put in there, brilliant design, it just gave it even more dimension of the rippling of that. So these are fun because you're gluing these on. So if you wanted more space, you know, between the and ever, you could distance them if you just wanted best day. So I thought that was cool, right? Really a cute thing, because I think best day ever doesn't even have to have anything to do with the mouse. It could just be for a birthday or just any kind of celebration. But I do like that. See, even best day, that's just great to put on anything. And you can do any colors, or just great ideas. Great ideas for those. They were fun. Okay. Then I kind of went rogue.
Kind of?
Which I do, because Mario's like, did you get all that? And I'm like, oh no, now I'm going old school. So there again, many of these things that I'm going to share with you have long been retired. That's not the idea. I'm not here just to make you, you know, shoulda, coulda, woulda. It's just so if you have it or have something similar, or just to spark the idea, maybe you can go there. Because these little characters became just something that I was like, oh, I bet they can do so many cool things. And they absolutely can. So I went into my stock of Sizzix stuff, and I wanted to see what I can do. I'm not done with the Spellbinders dies yet. I'm going to go back and show you what else I did with some of the leftovers. But now that we're on to the characters, I still want to talk. There's a whole bunch of stuff that, as I was going in, I started having just great fun with creating with these, because I couldn't stop. So I'll try to remember what I did. There's a whole assortment of it. Probably the most current would be the side order of this, but who knows, you know, maybe Spellbinders, they're going to do a whole release of accessories. I think they should, because like I said, all these ones that I'm showing from Sizzix, they're all retired. So on the birthday one, what I really did is I started using the original side orders way back in the day when we did these tiny dies that work in the sidekick. Those to me are like the perfect scale. I'll show you. Case in point, here's the little party hat. Like, come on. Like instant birthday. The balloon, come on. Seriously, it's so cute. If you have any little banner or pennant die, that can go in the background, and boom, birthday. And that could work either way. If you want to, you wouldn't have to put her hat on. You could just leave the ears, because you already saw like that hat is totally separate, but you know, she could have that hat on, and you know, same rules apply. You could totally decorate them however you want. This was the hat from the side order. This was the hat from the most current birthday, but it's bigger. See, like I cut off the bottom, but it works as well. So if you have that most recent one, because that's where the balloon and the streamer came from, just trim the bottom of a hat. So as you're going through your dies or stickers, you may need to modify the scale a little bit, but I don't know, that's pretty cute. So for birthday, I just thought, well, that was an easy one. The other thing I loved is, like, let's say you're doing a card. Oh my gosh, seriously, I can't even right now. There was another side order that had a little chocolate box. This is from the original because it needs to be that small.
Oh my God.
But like,
Look at that.
So cute just to have a little candy box. Again, hey, maybe Spellbinders getting ideas of like, we need to be doing this. Go for it, because I do think everyone's going to want accessories for the mouse. Or look at the little love letter, right? You can have that little envelope. You could do the one with the thumb if you want. I'm just giving you ideas to look in your stash to kind of create that. There's a little love letter for Valentine's Day. And then I think I started going just a little off the wall. Okay. Halloween. I mean, well, there's a travel one. Here's a little suitcase. So I did have a suitcase because remember, if you know the story of, you know, the mouse, a suitcase in a dream, look at that. So that could just easily slide over his finger. Hold on, I'm just going to try to put that on his finger. There you go, little suitcase. That's from a side order as well. All right, Halloween. I do think I have some Halloween stuff. There was just some really quirky stuff. So these guys have the tiniest little trick-or-treat bucket. That was fun. This one has this cool collar. So I just figured, I mean, obviously I would do him probably more in black and white. I don't think I would use this hat on him, but this little collar, let's bring this up because I know, look, Halloween, like this little collar from this die, and you could even cut this shape yourself, but he could easily become like a cool, fun little vampire. Probably doesn't look good with that hat. Let's do it on this one. There we go. See?
Wow.
He can have that little Dracula coat.
Such a quick transformation.
I know, it's fun, huh? And then you can give him that little, I mean, come on. Seriously? It's just the cutest.
It's so cute.
It's so cute. And then for Minnie, I should have done a Minnie without a hat, but I don't think I can rip it off. But she could have that, and there's a witch hat. Let me just get this out of the tray. Hilarious. So cute. See? I like the witch hat with a flower. But you get the idea. Look through your stash. You're going to be surprised how much stuff might actually work with these characters. Then as we get into the holidays, of course, this is from, I think this is from Twig and Stump. Yep. So they have like hats and scarves. I thought the hat, that really worked well for him. Probably a little big, but kind of worked. And then there's a winter hat. Look at him. Let me just put this right on. I mean, come on. Come on. Or if you didn't want that, then there's another die. This was, I think, holiday hipster or something. Any kind of Santa hat. Look through your Santa hat stash because that also works. Cute. Just fine stuff. I think that to me is what I enjoyed the most. And then you could have a wreath. So, you know, maybe she's coming in again. I love that they face each other. Isn't that sweet? It really is sweet. But like there's a little wreath you could do, or if you wanted to do a little package, a little present with a little present right there with the tag. That came from this was a cute set. See the little wreath, the little package, even a little gingerbread. I think I even cut that. So you could do like gingerbread and coffee. Oh my gosh. I'm telling you guys, like my brain went to that of a 5-year-old. I couldn't help it. So like maybe a little Starbucks, a little coffee. There we go. And a little gingerbread cookie. Come on, please. I just loved it. I had so much fun. And I just did a tree because I was really going down the whole Christmassy thing. I'm like, okay, I need a tree in the background. And the reason I chose this tree was just because it had that like animated vibe to it. You also want to, you know, choose things that kind of have that same, I think, aesthetic as what you would see. But yeah, that would be cute with the little hat. See, just adding a tree. And then just a little stamp sentiment or a sticker, maybe an inky background or a stencil. Or the whole idea is that there's just more to this than, the shapes that you see. And I think that's what I couldn't stop doing. I just couldn't stop cutting and answering what if and going through my session. Not everything worked. Some things that I thought were really look great on packaging, the scale was off, right? It was just too big or too small, or didn't have the right, kind of animation aesthetic to it. So I don't want you to, get too hung up on stuff. But there's other things that you can do with the cuts themselves. So let me see if I did it. Okay, I did remember it. Okay. So what I found really interesting when I was cutting stuff out, and you kind of see it in this one. This is the one where I just noticed it. I'm like, okay, most things are like, okay, I guess that could be for a fish hook or whatever. But this, I couldn't stop looking at this because it is iconic. That leftover silhouette was iconic. And I'm like, I have got to use that. This, of course, remember, is the black background to the head. It's the piece. So it's cool to know that you would have this negative going either direction. So what I did is I took a piece of cardstock. I took the circle, and this is that circle that comes with, the well, hello there. I took that. Then I took the die and placed that inside the circle and cut it out, okay? And then what you're left with is a circle with a silhouette. But that circle with a silhouette makes a great little shakety shaker, okay? Because once there is a hole cut out and you already have a circle, you can put acetate in there, you can add glitter, you can add shaker beads, you can do whatever you want. And this becomes a whole new element to this collection that I thought was great. And it pairs perfectly with the alphabet. So I did 2 little shakety shake cards. This one, oh boy, and this one, yoo-hoo, because Minnie always does yoo-hoo. So that's what I did. And that's really where the font is so perfect, so playful, so brilliant, and easy to do. Because you guys, if you watch enough lives, you know that the shakety shake thing, I'm fascinated by them when the makers are making them, but like I don't really do much of them. And I'm enjoying myself more and more. In fact, check out I gotta show you my stash of shakety stuff. Because all this stuff was coming in and Mario's like, what are you doing with this? Are you opening like a cake decorating company? I'm like, no, these are all little shaker bits. I got all these at Simon Says. So these are all different shaker beads. I love that you can do them in colors. So like that's how I made, the mouse mix, those classic colors, a little bit of red, a little bit of yellow, a little bit of black, a little bit of white. Some maybe you want like a little custom shakety shake mix. So that's where I got the rainbow mix, but there's Halloween or Valentine's. Look at that candy corn. I can't wait to make that. But yeah, I love that. And I love putting these in these little glass jars. It just works for me because it's just easy to pour. Everybody's got a different shakety shake kind of thing. But yeah, I got all this at Simon Says. It was just fun. It was like, this was all one purchase because once I was shopping, it was a lot of money in shakety stuff, but to me, it's going to last me and it's going to give me options because I even like some of these. They're like little flat, little tutti frutti things. Could you believe I even said tutti frutti? But that is the reality. Sometimes you just got to have fun, and there's certain kind of art things that bring out that child in you, and you got to celebrate the heck out of that when it happens. So these simple, like I said, you cut that out, you put your acetate, you do your foam, you do a little circle. I wish I had a smaller circle die because I didn't actually, like if you try to stack all the same circle, it was hard for me to line up. So I did go in and trim it, but I think I need to get I'm going to get some nesting circle dies. I just chopped it off. Who cares? No one's going to see that on the card, right? Then I just went old school. I know we're all in the world of 3D and multi-level, but man, I went old school with simple 2D folders that I did in my early years because I like the scale of it. Like, see the little Swiss dots? This one, so cute. I hope the industry kind of makes I think that they circle back. I would love to see the industry kind of not stop 3D. I'm not saying that, but I would love people just doing the classic 2D folders of simple designs. Like, look at this star embossing folder. It's just perfect. It's not dimensional. It doesn't have all the bells and whistles. It just created a perfect background. Yeah. And many of us have them, and many of us either got rid of them and wish we didn't. And many of us started when the industry had already moved on. But all of these are just a simple design for the background. But look at this font. Let's talk about this font. This font is so cute because it can be dimensionalized. So here I used the foam squares. Again, this is not an infomercial, but I keep saying it. But Simon Says has 2 different thicknesses. It doesn't matter where you get them, but like get 2 different thicknesses of foam, or if you have thin, do one level and the other one stack 2 together, because I love the ability to kind of cluster the letters and overlap them. But by creating different heights, I felt that it allowed me to put more in less space. Does that make sense? So I like the fact that, you know, anytime a letter was over another one, it was just double stack. And the font, yeah, there's numbers, exclamation point, like that's just fun. That's just cute. Anyway, check with your stores. I mean, I think there's a lot of stores out there that have stuff, or, you know, but nobody's really looking for it, and you may just assume they don't have it. Check with your store, see what they have, because yeah, especially shakety shake stuff. But here's my advice. Don't just buy one. You'll think you'll be happy with one. I doubt that. I thought I was. I bought one the first time when I did the Santa mugs last year. I bought that little Christmas mix, and I'm like, I'll be good. And then I was like, oh, I wish I had one for this. Oh, I wish I had one for this. Anyway, crazy. I'm glad you guys like the little shakety shake. Hannah's like, how do you not have nesting dies? I do, but like my nesting dies are really old school when they jumped a lot of spaces, but now they have nesting dies that are pretty much like so thin that you get like a bazillion different downscale. The nesting dies I have, like when it jumped from this circle to the next one, it was even smaller than the silhouette. So, you know, that's all right. So I have them. I just don't have because I've never really felt a need for it. So even after all these years, there's always a need for something. So you kind of don't regret the stash. Okay, let's see what else I got. I'm going to talk about BetterPress. I'll talk about foiling. I think I covered a lot of die cutting, shakety, fun ideas, seasonal things. I hope you guys found that was just fun to see. You know, I'm going to turn these into things, of course, but this was about just showing like the potential of just the tools. It's very easy to turn stuff into cards look at all these that you can just start putting on stuff. Like that's the greatest part about compartmental making, is that when you get that stuff just done and you sit and you're like, all I did was just make a bunch of these. Yeah, you did. And just think of all the things now you can add them to. Put them in vignettes, put them on canvas, put them in a journal. Like what I hope is anyone that's interested in the mouse and you have a distinct style, maybe you're more glittery and sparkly, or maybe you're more grungy and edgy. I can't wait to see what people do with this. In fact, when Steamboat Willie, became public domain, that's the first thing artists did, is they put their spin on the classic mouse. And some was recognizable, some was not recognizable, but it was cool nonetheless. Because, we're used to seeing this icon in a certain way, but that you can see from this demo, there's so many different possibilities. Okay. All right. I love these little boxes. Isn't that cool? I can put a lot of stuff in there. Okay. Now let's talk about BetterPress. I'm not the greatest at this, so no judgy McJudge. Say to yourself, I will not judge him. I will not judge him, because I'm going to demo it. And if you know anything about this, sometimes it works great, and sometimes you need a few tries. But I want to show you that you don't have to be afraid of it. If you're not familiar with this system, it's kind of a letterpress system from Spellbinders. It has this little kind of, I don't know the official name, I'll say platen kind of thing. It's on these little magnets, little spring load. And the idea is that you use these plates and you use paper and you make a cool letterpress. So this is the BetterPress plate for Steamboat. He also comes with a little music. Let me find mine. I didn't use it on this one, but it comes with it. So you get this extra little music, because he's whistling, so you can put that in there. And there's also a die for this that came with it that you can cut out and you can layer it. Okay, we're just going to use the plate. All right, so the background of this is magnetic, and if you want to learn about this, really watch a video of somebody that knows what they're doing versus this, but you'll get the gist of it. So it kind of has these little outlines. That's an A2, so I know that's going to be the size of my paper that I'm going to use. So you can position your plate wherever you want. You can have it high, low, you can, could be in rocky seas or whatever you want it to be. But once you place it down, it's magnetic. You can move it around, but it pretty much stays put. Then this is not some sort of, like hard sell where you need to use it, but the right supplies make it easier. They do have cotton paper, and the cotton paper makes a huge difference when you're debossing, because that's what this is going to do. This is not only, and I don't know if the camera's going to pick it up, it's not only going to stamp it, but it's going to deboss it. It's actually going to push into the paper and create that letterpress design. So you need paper that is designed to take the texture. Like if you tried this with watercolor cardstock or say heavy stock, it would still print, but it's not going to give you this clean, debossed, cushiony look that cotton paper does. They do cotton in different colors, you know, gray, white, kind of bisque, you know, still all really light colors. So use what you like, but that's what's going to go on the top. So here's how we're going to do it. As far as ink goes, they have BetterPress ink. Now, I'll be honest, I've played with different inks and I found that different inks also work. Do I think theirs works the best? I do. I did try with obviously Black Soot Archival, and it worked okay. It didn't like to ink the metal very well, but a couple passes and it worked. This I did really well with. I think I also used, I used VersaFine Clair. That worked. It was just really hard to ink this and not get too much ink everywhere. So just try it out. But you know, if you kind of want the easiest way for application, I would suggest is if you're only going to do black, which is pretty much what I do, they have a larger one, but you can get different colors. I just kind of stick with black. Okay. It does feel like an infomercial, but I'm not. I'm just a maker at heart, and you're kind of getting a little peek behind the curtain of how I work.
Yes, you do.
I am just like you. I've been in this industry for over 20 years, and I know a lot of people think that like I'm on the island of Tim Holtz and I only use Tim Holtz stuff, and that is not true.
Not true at all.
I have a craft room filled with everybody's stuff, and when I like something, I want it like you. I want it in every color, even if I'm not going to use it right away, because what if, and all of that stuff. What does the reverse look like?
Flat.
Nothing. It's totally flat. So it's not an embossing folder. It just debosses into the paper. Okay, here we go. So what you need to do is you put your plate down, A2, then you have this little platiny thing, and you're going to look at your A2 mark. You're going to turn it over, and we have to put our paper in that same grid, because what we're going to do is this like connects with little spring-loaded magnets, so it hovers over the plate. So we need to secure our paper, and you can secure your paper with whatever tape is going to work for you, just something that's going to have a low enough tack that's going to come off later, or if you don't care if your paper rips, you know, just tape it to the end, and then you can trim your paper a little bit later. Okay, so I'm just going to tape that to the underside of the plate, and it's printed, so you'll know if it's the underside, like that's the back, because that's really what we need to have happen. Okay, then we're going to ink our plate, place our paper, and we're going to run it through the machine. Again, run it through whatever machine you have. Everybody's going to have a different probably recommendation, sandwich, whatever they want. I find that my fold-away works fine, but maybe you have a Spellbinders machine or a Vagabond or whatever. Just use whatever's going to work. So my machine is ready to go, but this is all you need. You don't need another sandwich or anything. This is, when you put it in the machine, it's going to be just this. So don't have any bonus accoutrements going in your machine. Okay, so we're going to ink this up. Now when you ink this up, if you get ink on this little plate thing back here, don't worry about it. It shouldn't touch your paper. But I found that when I ink, I tend to like, if I go in different directions, in other words, I don't try to just ink across or this way, like kind of go almost at least 180, because I think the way this metal is, it's just gonna, I think, ink all the areas, and I like to do little love taps. I don't smash it in there, okay? I think I have enough ink that works well. I'm just gonna take that, and this is the weird part. Like I secure it there, drop it in, it's there, it's on the magnet. It's separate right now. And then we're going to run it through the machine. And when you run it through the machine, you're just going to like do the print. You don't need to go speed. You just want it like lined up. And then we're just going to roll it. What's weird about this is it doesn't feel like a ton of pressure. Okay. Because typically, and I'm even going to go backwards. I don't think you're supposed to, but I just do. But like you can just turn the handle with a couple fingers. It's not the normal pressure that you would get with a die cut, which when I first did, I'm like, ooh, I think I need to add a shim or something like that. No, you just do you. Then I go in this little opening, because the opening kind of has a little overhang, and then I can just pick this up off the magnet, see? And then you can just remove the little platen, and there you go. Come on.
That is beautiful.
Glorious. The ink is already dry. I can peel off this tape and save it for next time, and you're good to go. Like, look at that. So you can now watercolor it, use your inks, your watercolor pencils, your glitter, or just leave it old school. Isn't that fab? I mean, come on.
That is awesome.
Freaking magic. Come on. So easy. This, you could clean it, but I treat my BetterPress plates like I treat my stamps, and that is I do not clean it. I will just take a little cloth and kind of do a little wipe with a cloth, and that is clean. But if I'm going to use another color ink, I would clean it. Just use whatever stamp cleaner. I use archival cleaner. And so if I was going to maybe do this in red, I would want to clean it, because even though this ink might be dry, another color of ink would reactivate the ink on the plate. Okay, so just keep that in mind, that you know, you're not like, oh, well, there's no ink coming off, but the other ink will re-wet this ink. So that's the only time that I actually clean the plate. Because like I said, most of the time I like to print in black, because I think it's really cool that I can go in now and add color. And you would use the same cleaner to clean this off of this back, if that mattered to you. I don't clean it every time. I just clean it when I have more ink than grid lines, and I'm like, oh, I need to see the grid again. Then I just put the cleaner on there, wipe it off. Okay, but pretty cool, isn't it? It's very, very simple. Yeah, you could, I mean, Polly said, what about removable tape on the back? You stick it down however you want. You can use a little glue dot. You can do whatever is going to work for you. I just find like this tape works great for me. But yes, you can do something. The only thing that I've seen on other YouTube videos is that sometimes if you have tape on the back, that's adding pressure. And so when you run it through, you get kind of an uneven printing, because it's thicker in the area where that tape is. But there again, do what's going to work. All right, look at that. Schmancy, huh? Okay, so now the next one. The next one's not for the faint of heart, if you've ever seen videos on glimmering, but Glimmer's the hot foil system. This is starting to feel like an infomercial, but I have to say, like, it's no different than like Apple or an iPhone. When you're kind of in the ecosystem of a company that makes stuff that works together, then you follow it along. But Denzel was like, oh, you know that BetterPress, you can also foil it, because I've done some foiling, not a lot, but I even did stuff like with the mink, totally different system. But I'm like, really, you can foil it? He goes, yeah. So I'm not going to demo this one, because this one is like, we have just a really aggressive relationship, the Glimmer system and myself, but I like it. But what I like is what most people don't, which I like the little overage. But here's the thing. Everything that you know, if you have this system or you've seen a video, this would be your plate. So you would put the plate down. That is your plate. You would take your foil, you would place it shiny side down. You would take your papers and you would put this on, hit the timer, run it through, the whole shebang. But let me just tell you, I found that the Distress Black Heavy Stock foiled like a dream. I mean, it's like suede-y, black, wonderful. However, you do get some skippity bits sometimes, like, see that little bit? But you could take your little sand eraser and erase it. I always try to get more skippity bits, but this paper is magic. And this is the same paper that I cut the backgrounds to the mouse. So I think that that's like really, really amazing. So I love the fact that I could do this. So once I foiled this, right, and I just used some silver foil, but you know, like if you've ever done foiling and you peel this off, right, you get that negative. And I'm like, I just love that so much. So contacted Denzel. I'm like, so do you just do like a solid plate thing? And he's like, yeah. So hopefully, I asked him, hopefully do something bigger, because this is the biggest that they do. But this happened to work, but like it was barely big enough. You might see where I'm going. I'm like, I hope you do like a bigger plate. But what this means is that once you've done the foiling like this with one plate, and again, if I'm confusing you, watch a YouTube video on just using this system, okay? You peel it off, you will have like this negative on your foil, because where this is stuck, it's been removed from the foil, but all the background is still on the foil. So then what you would do is this would come off. This now becomes your new plate. You take the negative piece of foil. Do I even have one in the trash? Probably not, no. Because I did a lot of these, but you take the negative piece, you lay it shiny side down, you take your paper, and this is what you get. So what happens is this will transfer all the remaining foil except for the image, because that image was transferred to this one. So you see, like if you put it together, we'd have a solid piece. But take a look at the negative. There we go. I just loved it. And I mean, you can see you don't have much of a margin of error on the top and the bottom because it's only going to print the size of this plate. That's why I only have that strip. So even though my foil was wider, which it is, it was wider than the plate, it only transfers where the plate is. But I thought it was really cool. So I would cut this. I mean, I'd probably leave a little black edge. Maybe I might even, you know, tear the edge or something. But I just thought that was really cool to see this plate not only in the BetterPress, but also foiling, because it looks great all the ways, right? Love it. So anyway, just a little inspiration. There's nothing wrong with playing. And this went through a lot of, this is not working. Oh, I thought, oh, there it is. No kid. How did it end up here? How did it, the Glimmer system was all the way over there. It must have been somewhere on this white mat and it just got stuck. But there are her pants. Those are the bloomers that we missed at the beginning. Hilarious.
Thanks for finding them.
Yep, now Mario doesn't have to look. I can hand it to him. Okay, anyway, that was fun, right? So see, who knows, full circle. Like just crazy, crazy stuff. But it's a lot of fun. And that's what I hope, you know, if you guys are, and hey, even if you're not interested in the mouse, maybe you picked up some tips for stuff that you have. You know, maybe you do have some, gosh, the light. Oh, see? Let me put that under there. Look at that light needs to hit it just right. Woo. I love it. It's so much fun. So much fun just to see all of the stuff that you could do. And I'm just so happy. I'm so happy that there's elements of this guy that's in the public domain. Steamboat Willie, I absolutely love it. I just loved having a creative play. And I can't wait to make with this, because obviously I'll probably go a little bit more, you know, a little bit more magical on this stuff when I make with it. But I had a blast. So welcome to the world, Classic Mouse.